Admiral Kethfer stood on the bridge of his massive warship. The metal floor hummed beneath his feet as the ship's engines powered down. Through the wide windows, he could see empty space filled with stars. His fleet had just arrived at a new solar system. 800 ships floated in perfect lines behind him. This was routine work for the Admiral. He had done this same job 43 times before. Find a new world with life. Study the creatures living there. Make them join the Zephyrian Empire. Most of the time, it was easy work. The Admiral was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. His uniform was covered in medals from successful campaigns. He had been doing this job for 20 years. In all that time, only 3 species had tried to fight back. All 3 had been destroyed within days. "Report," he said to his science officer. Commander Yelena looked up from her console. Her tentacles moved quickly across the controls. "The 3rd planet shows signs of intelligent life, Admiral. They call themselves humans. Population approximately 8 billion. Technology level is primitive. They have basic spaceflight, but no faster-than-light travel." The Admiral nodded. This sounded normal. Most young species were at this level when the Empire found them. "Any weapons we should worry about?" "Negative, sir. They have simple nuclear weapons and basic missiles. Nothing that could threaten our shields. Their most advanced ships barely reach their own moon." Captain Veltar stepped forward. He was younger than the Admiral, but had served under him for 5 years. "Sir, should we begin standard first contact procedures?" "Yes, send a diplomatic ship to their moon. We will meet with their leaders there. Make sure they understand we come in peace." The Admiral smiled. He always started with peace. It made the integration easier when the local species believed they had a choice. 3 hours later, the diplomatic ship landed on the human moon. The Admiral watched through his ship's cameras as his diplomats set up their meeting area. The humans had sent their own ship. It was a crude thing made of metal and fire. The Admiral was surprised. It had managed to fly at all dot. The human ship landed roughly on the moon's surface. Dust flew everywhere. The Admiral shook his head. These creatures clearly had no skill with advanced technology. A door opened on the human ship. 5 figures walked out wearing bulky white suits. The Admiral could see their faces through clear helmets. They looked soft and weak. 2 arms, 2 legs, and skin that seemed too thin. They walked slowly in the moon's low gravity. The lead human was a female. The Admiral could tell because the humans had sent information about their biology ahead of time. She was older than the others, with gray hair and lines on her face. Her name was Sarah Chun, and she spoke for her entire planet, the Admiral's chief. Diplomat, Minister Kerval, met the humans at the meeting site. The minister was good at his job. He had convinced dozens of species to join the Empire without any fighting. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Minister Kerval said through his translation device. "I am Minister Kerval of the Great Zephyrian Empire. We come to offer your species a wonderful opportunity." Sarah Chun tilted her head to one side. "What kind of opportunity?" "Membership in our empire. We will protect your world. We will share our technology. We will bring peace to your people. All we ask in return is that you follow our laws and provide resources when needed." The Admiral watched Sarah Chun's face carefully. Most species showed excitement at this point. The promise of advanced technology usually made primitive leaders very happy. But Sarah Chun's expression did not change at all. "And if we refuse?" she asked. Minister Kerval's smile faded slightly. "Why would you refuse?" "We offer only benefits. Peace, protection, progress. That was not my question." The minister looked uncomfortable. The Admiral had seen this happen before. Some species asked difficult questions. "Well, if you refuse, we would have to reconsider our protection." The galaxy is a dangerous place. Pirates, raiders, hostile aliens. Without our protection, your world would be vulnerable. Sarah Chun nodded. Slowly. I see. So join or be destroyed. Those are harsh words. We prefer to think of it as join and be protected. The Admiral watched as Sarah Chun picked up the treaty documents. She read through them slowly. Her face remained calm, but something in her eyes changed. The Admiral had seen many different reactions from alien leaders. Fear, anger, excitement, despair. But he had never seen what he saw in Sarah Chun's eyes. Now, it looked like recognition. After 10 minutes, Sarah Chun set the documents down. She looked directly at Minister Curville. Then she spoke one word in her human language. Run. The minister's translation device repeated the word in Zephyrian. Run. I do not understand, Minister Curville said. Run from what? But Sarah Chun was already walking away. The other humans followed her back to their crude ship. Within minutes, they had lifted off and were flying back toward Earth. Minister Corval stood alone in the meeting area. He spoke into his communication device. Admiral, the humans have left. They refused our offer. The Admiral frowned. Refused? Did they ask for time to consider? No, sir. The female leader said one word and left. What word? Run, sir. The Admiral thought about this. In 43 previous campaigns, no species had ever told him to run. Usually they begged him not to attack. Sometimes they offered him treasure. A few times they had threatened him. But none had ever given him advice. Sir, Captain Veltar said, perhaps they do not understand the situation. Their technology is primitive. They may not realize how powerful we are. The Admiral nodded. Prepare. A demonstration. Target the large asteroid near their moon. Use a full power blast. Let them see what happens to worlds that refuse our protection. Captain Veltar smiled. Yes, sir. That should convince them. The Admiral's flagship charged its main weapon. The asteroid was solid rock, about the size of a human city. The beam struck it with enough force to destroy a mountain. The asteroid simply disappeared. One moment it was there. The next moment there was only empty space and floating dust. Message sent to Earth, sir, the communications officer reported. Good. Now we wait for their surrender. But the hours passed, and no message came from Earth. The Admiral grew impatient. Usually, after a demonstration like that, local leaders were fighting each other to be the first to surrender. Sir, the science officer said, we are detecting unusual activity on the human planet. What kind of activity? Construction, sir. Massive construction projects appearing all over their world. And, sir, they are building fast. Faster than should be possible with their technology level. The Admiral moved to the science station. The displays showed Earth from orbit. Huge structures were rising from the planet's surface. Not just in one location, but everywhere. Cities, mountains, oceans. Everywhere the humans were building something. How are they doing this so quickly? The Admiral asked. Unknown, sir. Our models suggest these construction projects should take years with their technology. They are completing them in hours. The Admiral felt a strange sensation in his stomach. In 20 years of conquest, he had never seen anything like this. Most species either surrendered immediately after the demonstration or launched hopeless attacks. They did not ignore him and start building. Sir, Captain Veltar said quietly, there is something else. Our deep scans of the human world show something unusual. What? Their history, sir. We have been monitoring their communication signals. These humans have been at war with each other for their entire recorded history. They have never known true peace. The Admiral considered this information. Warlike species were not unusual. The Empire had conquered many aggressive races. But something about the humans felt different. Sir, the communications officer called out. we have a message from Earth. Finally, put it on screen. Sarah Chun's face appeared on the main display. She was sitting in what looked like a military command center. Behind her, the Admiral could see dozens of humans working at control stations. "Admiral Kethvar," she said, "we have considered your offer, and our answer is no." The Admiral felt his anger rising. "You saw what happened to the asteroid. Do you want the same thing to happen to your world?" Sarah Chun's expression did not change. "Admiral, let me ask you something. In all your conquests, how many species have you faced that spent their entire history learning how to kill?" The question caught the Admiral off guard. "What do you mean?" "Every species you have conquered before, they learned to build, to explore, to create. They learned war only when they had to. We are different, Admiral. We learned war first. Everything else came after." The Admiral stared at the screen. There was something in Sarah Chun's voice that made his skin feel cold. "You have made a mistake, Admiral," she continued. "You thought you had found another weak species to add to your empire. You were wrong. You found us." The transmission ended. The screen went dark dot. The Admiral stood in silence for a long moment. Around him, his bridge crew waited for orders. Finally, he spoke. "Prepare the fleet for possible combat, and send a message to Imperial Command. Tell them we may need reinforcements." As the Admiral gave his orders, he could not shake the feeling that something had changed. For the first time in his career, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Outside, the ship's windows, Earth continued to build. 3 days passed with no word from Earth. Admiral Kethvar paced back and forth on his bridge. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever ignored him for this long. Usually they either surrendered within hours or attacked immediately. This silence was something new and unwelcome. "Still no response from the human planet, sir," reported Communications Officer Zieltok. His voice carried a note of uncertainty that the Admiral did not like hearing. "Keep trying to contact them," the Admiral ordered. "A species this primitive cannot simply ignore the Zephyrian Empire." But even as he said the words, the Admiral felt doubt creeping into his mind. The humans were not acting like any primitive species he had encountered before. Their calm confidence bothered him more than open defiance would have. Captain Veltar approached with a data pad in his hands. "Sir, the science team has finished their analysis of human history and culture. You should see this." The Admiral took the pad and read through the report. What he found there made his blood run cold. The humans had been fighting wars for over 5,000 years. Not just small conflicts, but massive wars that covered entire continents. They had developed weapons that could destroy their own planet, then built more powerful ones just because they could. "Look at this section, sir." Captain Veltar pointed to a part of the report. "In their most recent global war, they killed over 50 million of their own kind. And they did it with primitive technology. Imagine what they could do with advanced weapons." The Admiral continued reading. The humans had fought wars in every environment their planet offered. On land, in the air, underwater, even in the frozen wastelands of their polar regions. They had learned to kill efficiently in every possible situation. "Sir," the science officer called from her station, "we have new readings from the human planet." "Admiral." Kethvar walked over to the science station. The displays showed orbital scans of Earth. What he saw there made no sense at all. "These readings cannot be correct," he said. "I have checked them 3 times, sir. The humans have built massive structures across their entire planet. But, sir, these are not just buildings. Our analysis suggests they are weapons." The Admiral stared at the scan results. The humans had turned their entire world into one giant weapon system. Missile silos, energy cannons, defensive shields, and things the Imperial computers could not even identify. All of it built in just 3 days. How is this possible? Their technology level should not allow construction at this speed. Unknown, sir, but there is something else. The construction appears to be continuing underground. Our deep scans show tunnel systems being dug at impossible speeds. The entire planet is being fortified. Captain Veltar looked worried. Sir, perhaps we should contact Imperial Command for advice. This situation is beyond our normal procedures. Before the Admiral could respond, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Red lights flashed as the emergency systems activated. Sir, called the tactical officer, we have multiple contacts approaching our position. Imperial ships? Negative, sir. Unknown configuration. They appear to be human vessels. The Admiral felt his heart skip a beat. Impossible. The humans have no faster-than-light travel. Sir, they are not coming from Earth. They are coming from the asteroid belt. The main screen activated, showing the space around the Imperial fleet. Dozens of ships were moving toward them. But these were not the crude vessels the humans had shown before. These ships were sleek and fast, moving with precision that rivaled Imperial technology. How many ships? The Admiral asked. 73 confirmed contacts, sir. More appearing every minute. The Admiral watched in growing alarm as more human ships emerged from hiding places throughout the solar system. They had been building not just on Earth, but everywhere. The asteroid belt, the moons of the outer planets, even in the depths of space itself. Sir, the communications officer said, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it on screen. Sarah Chun's face appeared again. But now she was not sitting in a command center on Earth. She was clearly on a spaceship, wearing what looked like a military uniform. Admiral Kethver, she said calmly, I see you are still here. How do you have these ships? The Admiral demanded. Your species barely has spaceflight. Sarah Chun smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, you made an assumption. You assumed we showed you everything we had during our first meeting. That was a mistake. This is impossible. We scanned your entire system before we arrived. Yes, you did. And we knew you were coming long before you got here. We have been watching your empire for decades, Admiral. We know how you operate. We know your tactics. We know your technology. The Admiral felt a chill run through his body. You have been watching us? Did you think a species that has been fighting wars for 5,000 years would not learn how to gather intelligence? We have had observers in your empire for 20 years, Admiral. We know everything about you. Captain Veltar stepped forward. Sir, this must be a bluff. They cannot have infiltrated Imperial space without us knowing. Sarah Chun turned her attention to the captain. Captain Veltar, born on Zephyr Prime 41 years ago, graduated third in your class from the Imperial Naval Academy. Married with 2 children. Your wife's name is Melsara. Your daughter just started her first year at university. Captain Veltar's face went pale. That information was classified at the highest levels. You see, Admiral, Sarah Chun continued, we have been preparing for this meeting for a very long time. We knew the Empire would find us eventually. We have been getting ready. The Admiral tried to maintain his composure. Even if you have been spying on us, you are still just one primitive planet. We have 800 ships in this fleet alone. Our empire controls thousands of worlds. Yes, you do. But Admiral, let me ask you something. How many of those worlds joined your empire because they wanted to? And how many joined because they were afraid? The question surprised the Admiral. What does that matter? It matters because fear is not loyalty, Admiral. Fear is just fear. And we are about to give your subject worlds something they have never had before. Which is? Hope. The transmission ended. The Admiral stood staring at the blank screen, trying to understand what the human had meant. Sir, the tactical officer called out, The human ships are taking positions around our fleet. They are not attacking, but they have us surrounded." The admiral looked at the tactical display. The human ships had moved with incredible coordination to encircle the entire Imperial fleet. They had done it so smoothly that the admiral had not even noticed it happening. "Sir," the science officer said quietly, "I am reading some very unusual energy signatures from the human ships." "What kind of signatures?" "Sir, these readings suggest the human ships are equipped with Imperial technology. But the modifications are beyond anything our engineers have conceived." The admiral felt his world start to collapse around him. "That is impossible. Imperial technology is the most advanced in the galaxy." "Yes, sir, but the humans appear to have improved it." Captain Veltar approached the admiral. "Sir, what are your orders?" For the first time in his career, Admiral Kethvar did not know what to do. Every tactical manual, every battle plan, every strategy he had learned was based on the assumption that the Empire had superior technology and firepower. But the humans had somehow turned that advantage against him. "Sir," the communications officer said, "another transmission coming in." "From the humans?" "No, sir. From Imperial Command." The admiral felt a brief moment of relief. "Put it through." The face of Admiral Keither appeared on the screen. He was the admiral's direct superior and one of the most experienced commanders in the Imperial fleet. "Kethvar," Admiral Keither said, "we have received your request for reinforcements. What is your situation?" "Sir, the humans are not what they appear to be. They have technology that rivals our own. They have been spying on the Empire for decades. They knew we were coming." Admiral Keither's expression grew serious. "Are you telling me that a primitive species has defeated an Imperial fleet?" "Not defeated, sir, but they have us surrounded. Their ships are more advanced than anything we have seen before." There was a long pause. Finally, Admiral Keither spoke again. "Kethvar, you have served the Empire faithfully for 20 years. But what you are telling me is impossible. I understand how it sounds, sir. But you need to see this for yourself. Very well. I am dispatching 3 additional fleets to your location. We will deal with these humans permanently." The transmission ended. Admiral Kethvar felt some relief knowing that reinforcements were coming. 3 more fleets would give him over 2,000 ships. Surely that would be enough to handle the humans. But as he looked at the tactical display, showing the human ships maintaining their perfect formation around his fleet, the admiral could not shake the feeling that he was missing something important, something that would change everything. Outside his ship, the human vessels waited in silence. They made no threatening moves, but they also made no effort to leave. They simply watched and waited, as if they knew something the admiral did not. In the depths of space, more human ships continued to emerge from hiding places throughout the solar system. The reinforcements arrived 6 hours later. Admiral Keither, his massive dreadnought, emerged from hyperspace, followed by 3 full battle fleets. Over 2,000 Imperial ships now surrounded the human solar system. It was the largest force the Empire had ever assembled in one place. Admiral Kethvar felt relief wash over him as he watched the reinforcements take their positions. Surely no primitive species could stand against this much firepower. The humans would have to surrender now. "Admiral Keither is requesting immediate transport to your ship," the communications officer reported. "Granted," Admiral Kethvar replied. Within minutes, Admiral Keither materialized on the bridge in a shimmer of light from the transport beam. He was older than Kethvar, with scars across his face from battles fought decades ago. His uniform displayed medals from 50 different campaigns. "Show me these human ships," Admiral Keither said without greeting. Admiral Kethvar brought up the tactical display. The human fleet was still there, maintaining their positions around the original Imperial force. But something had changed. There were more of them now. How many ships do they have? Admiral Keither asked. 200 confirmed contacts, sir. But the number keeps growing. They seem to have hidden ships throughout this entire system. Admiral Keither studied the display with a frown. These formations are too precise. No primitive species could coordinate their fleet this well. That is what concerns me, sir. Their technology appears to be equal to ours. Possibly superior in some areas. Impossible. Admiral Keither's voice was firm. The Empire has the most advanced technology in the galaxy. We will demonstrate this to these humans immediately. Admiral Keither activated his communicator. All ships, prepare for battle formation Alpha 7. Target the human vessels and prepare to fire on my command. Across the Imperial fleet, thousands of ships began moving into attack positions. Weapon systems powered up. Shield generators hummed. To life, the space around Earth lit up with the glow of energy weapons charging for battle. Sir, Captain Veltar said quietly, perhaps we should try to communicate with them first. We tried communication, Admiral Keither replied coldly. They refused our generous offer. Now they will face the consequences. The Imperial fleet completed their battle formation. Every human ship was targeted by at least 5 Imperial vessels. The firepower aimed at the human fleet could destroy entire planets. All ships report ready, sir, the tactical officer announced. Admiral Keither smiled. Fire. The space around Earth erupted in light. Thousands of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the human ships. It was enough firepower to destroy a dozen worlds. The display screens showed the weapons racing toward their targets. Then something impossible happened. The human ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next moment empty space. The Imperial weapons passed through the areas where the human ships had been and struck nothing but vacuum. What happened? Admiral Keither demanded. Unknown, sir, the tactical officer replied, his voice shaking. All human contacts have disappeared from our sensors. They cannot just disappear. Find them. For 30 seconds, the space around Earth seemed empty except for the Imperial fleet. Then the human ships reappeared. But they were not in the same positions. They had somehow moved behind the Imperial formation. Sir, the tactical officer called out in panic, human ships are appearing throughout our fleet. They are inside our formation. Admiral Kethvor stared at the tactical display in horror. The human ships had not just moved. They had somehow teleported directly into the middle of the Imperial fleet. Human vessels now sat between Imperial ships, perfectly positioned to cause maximum damage. How is this possible? Admiral Keither whispered. Before anyone could answer, the human ships opened fire. But these were not the crude weapons the Empire expected from a primitive species. These were Imperial weapons, modified and improved beyond anything the Empire's engineers had imagined. The energy beams that struck the Imperial ships cut through their shields like they were made of paper. All ships return fire, Admiral Keither ordered. But the Imperial ships found themselves in an impossible situation. The human vessels were positioned so perfectly that any shot fired at them would likely hit other Imperial ships. The humans had turned the Empire's own fleet into a shield. Sir, Captain Veltar reported, we are receiving damage reports from across the fleet. Multiple ships have been destroyed. Others are reporting massive system failures. Admiral Kethver watched in disbelief as Imperial ships began exploding around them. Each human vessel seemed to know exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage. They hit power cores, weapon systems, and shield generators with surgical precision. How do they know our ship designs so well? Admiral Keither asked. Sir, the science officer said, I believe they have been studying us far longer than we realized. They know our weaknesses better than we do. A new alarm sounded throughout the bridge. Sir, The tactical officer called out. Human boarding parties have attached to the hull. They are cutting through our armor. Admiral Kither's face went pale. Impossible. Our hull is made of Imperial battle steel. Nothing can cut through it that quickly. But even as he spoke, they could hear the sound of cutting tools working on the ship's outer hull. The humans were somehow slicing through. The strongest metal in the galaxy, like it was soft wood. Security teams to all hull breach points. Admiral Kethfer ordered. On the tactical display, they could see human boarding parties attacking dozens of Imperial ships throughout the fleet. Small human vessels had attached themselves to the larger Imperial ships and were cutting their way inside. Sir, Captain Veltar said, we are receiving reports from other ships. The human boarding parties are not trying to capture our vessels. They are taking our technology. What do you mean? They are cutting out pieces of our computers, our weapon systems, our engines. They appear to be reverse engineering our technology. In real time, Admiral Kither stared at the reports coming in from across the fleet. Human boarding parties were stealing Imperial technology and somehow understanding it immediately. Within minutes of entering an Imperial ship, they were already making modifications and improvements. This is not possible, Admiral Kither said. It takes our engineers months to understand new technology. How can they do it in minutes? Sir, the communications officer said, incoming transmission from the human fleet. Put it on screen. Sarah. Chun's face appeared on the display. But now she was not alone. Behind her stood figures in armor that looked suspiciously like Imperial combat gear, but modified with improvements the Empire had never conceived. Admiral Kither, she said calmly. Welcome to our solar system. How do you know my name? The Admiral demanded. We know many things about you, Admiral, including the fact that you destroyed the Calthax system 12 years ago. 1 billion innocent lives lost because they refused to mine toxic crystals for your empire. Admiral Kither's face showed shock. The Calthax incident was classified at the highest levels. No one outside the Imperial High Command should know about it. That was a necessary military action, he said. It was genocide, Sarah-Chun replied. And it was not the only one. We have records of 37 worlds your empire has destroyed for refusing to cooperate. Billions of innocent lives lost to feed your endless hunger for power. How do you have this information? Because we have been watching you, Admiral. We have been learning from you. We have been preparing for you. On the tactical display, more human ships continued to appear throughout the Imperial fleet. They seemed to be materializing from nowhere, striking quickly and vanishing again before the Imperial ships could respond. Sir, the tactical officer reported, we have lost over 200 ships. Human casualties appear to be minimal. Admiral Kither felt his confidence crumbling. This cannot be happening. The Empire is invincible. No empire is invincible, Admiral, Sarah-Chun said from the screen. Every empire falls eventually. Usually, they fall because they become too comfortable, too confident, too cruel. Your empire has made all those mistakes. What do you want? Admiral Kither asked. We want you to leave. Take your ships and go back to your empire. Tell them that humanity is not for conquest. And if we refuse? Sarah-Chun's expression hardened. Then you will discover why we spent 5,000 years learning how to wage war. As if to emphasize her point, 3 more Imperial ships exploded on the tactical display. The human attacks were becoming more frequent and more devastating. Sir, Captain Veltar said quietly, perhaps we should consider retreat. Never, Admiral Kither said. The Empire does not retreat from primitives. But even as he spoke, another wave of human ships appeared throughout the Imperial formation. This time there were hundreds of them, all appearing simultaneously in perfect coordination. Admiral Kethfor realized with growing horror that this was not a battle. This was a demonstration. The humans were showing the Empire exactly how outmatched they were, and they were doing it with Imperial technology that they had somehow made better than the Empire ever could. The battle lasted only 2 hours, but those 2 hours changed everything Admiral Keither thought he knew about war. When it ended, half of his fleet was gone. Not destroyed, but captured. The humans had somehow taken control of over 1,000 Imperial ships without killing most of the crews. Admiral Keither stood on his bridge, staring at the tactical display in stunned silence. His mighty fleet, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire, had been defeated by a species that was supposed to be primitive. But worse than the defeat was how easily it had happened. The humans had not fought like any enemy he had ever faced. They did not try to destroy the Imperial fleet. Instead, they had surgically disabled every ship, captured the crews, and taken the vessels intact. It was as if they had been more interested in learning than killing. "Sir," Captain Veltar said, quietly, "we are receiving another transmission from the humans." Admiral Keither did not want to face Sarah Chun again, but he had no choice. "Put it on screen." Sarah Chun appeared, but she was no longer on her ship. She was standing in what looked like an Imperial command center. Behind her, Admiral Keither could see his own officers working alongside humans at control stations. "Admiral," Sarah Chun said, "we need to talk. You have captured my ships and my crews. What more do you want?" "I want you to understand something important. Your crews are not prisoners. They are guests. We have been showing them things they need to see." "What things?" "The truth about your empire. Many of your officers had no idea what their government has been doing to innocent worlds. They thought they were serving a noble cause." Admiral Keither felt anger rising in his chest. "The Empire brings order to the galaxy. We bring peace and prosperity. Do you really believe that, Admiral? Or do you just tell yourself that to sleep at night?" Before Admiral Keither could answer, Sarah Chun stepped aside. Another figure appeared on the screen. It was Commander Yelleneth, his own science officer. "Admiral," Commander Yelleneth said, her voice shaking, "you need to see what they have shown us." "Commander, you will return to your post immediately." "Sir, I cannot. Not after what I have learned." "They have records, Admiral. Complete records of everything the Empire has done for the past 200 years. Sarah Chun moved back into view. "Your commander has seen the truth, Admiral. She has seen the records of the worlds your empire has destroyed, the species you have enslaved, the billions of lives lost to feed your war machine. That is classified information. How do you have access to Imperial records?" "Because your empire is not as secure as you think it is. We have had people inside your government for decades. We know about every massacre, every genocide, every world you have stripped bare for resources." Admiral Keither's mind raced. If the humans had penetrated Imperial security so completely, then everything was compromised. Every military plan, every strategic secret, every weakness of the Empire was known to them. "What do you want?" he asked. "We want change, Admiral. Real change. The galaxy deserves better than the Empire you represent. You cannot defeat the entire Empire with one primitive world." Sarah Chun smiled, but it was a sad expression. "Admiral, you still do not understand. We are not one primitive world. We never were." The display changed, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared across the star chart, hundreds of them, scattered throughout Imperial space. Each of those dots represents a world where humans live, Admiral. We have been spreading across the galaxy for 50 years. Not as conquerors, but as refugees, outcasts, people fleeing from empires like yours. Admiral Keither stared at the map in horror. Impossible. we would have detected human settlements. Would you? How carefully do you look at the slave populations? On your mining worlds? How closely do you examine the refugees fleeing from your wars? We have been hiding in plain sight, Admiral, living among the people your empire has conquered and forgotten. The implications hit Admiral Kither like a physical blow. If humans were spread throughout Imperial space, then they had access to everything. Every Imperial world, every military base, every strategic location was potentially compromised. But that is not the worst part for your empire, Sarachan continued. The worst part is what we have been teaching the people we live among. What do you mean? We have been teaching them that they do not have to accept conquest. We have been teaching them that they can fight back. We have been teaching them hope. As if summoned by her words, new contacts began appearing on the tactical display. Ships were emerging from hyperspace throughout the system. But these were not human ships. These were vessels from dozens of different species, all converging on the battle site. Sir, the tactical officer reported, his voice filled with disbelief. We have incoming ships from Calfax, Meridia, Zentari, and at least 20 other systems, all former Imperial territories. Admiral Kither felt his world collapse around him. Those worlds were pacified decades ago. They were conquered, Admiral, Sarachun corrected. But conquest and pacification are not the same thing. The people you defeated never stopped hating you. They just needed someone to show them how to fight back. The alien ships took positions around the remaining Imperial vessels. Admiral Kither recognized some of the designs. Ships from species the Empire had conquered generations ago. But these vessels had been modified with the same advanced technology the humans possessed. You gave them our technology, Admiral Kither said. We gave them better than your technology. We took what you had and made it work for freedom instead of oppression. A new transmission came through, this one from one of the alien ships. The face that appeared on screen was familiar to Admiral Kither. It was General Crixtel of the Calfax Resistance, a leader the Empire thought they had killed years ago. Kither, General Crixtel said, his voice filled with cold fury. You destroyed my world. You killed my family. You thought you had won. But the humans taught us that no victory is permanent. More transmissions came in from other ships. Leaders from dozens of conquered worlds, all speaking with the same message. The Empire's victims had not forgotten. They had been waiting, learning, preparing for their chance at revenge. This is not possible, Admiral Kither whispered. We defeated all of you. You defeated our armies, General Crixtel replied. But you cannot defeat an idea. And the idea that freedom is worth fighting for cannot be killed by your weapons. Sarah Chun appeared on screen again. This is what you never understood about humanity, Admiral. We do not fight just for ourselves. We fight for the principle that no one should have to live under the boot of a tyrant. The Empire brought order to chaos, Admiral Kither said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Empire brought slavery disguised as order. It brought death disguised as peace. It brought despair disguised as progress. Admiral Kither looked around his bridge. His remaining officers stared at the displays, showing thousands of rebel ships surrounding them. For the first time in his career, he saw doubt in their eyes. Sir, Captain Veltar said quietly, what are your orders? Admiral Kither realized he had no orders to give. Every tactical doctrine, every strategic principle he had learned was useless against an enemy that had been planning this moment for decades. The humans had not just defeated his fleet. They had orchestrated a galaxy-wide rebellion. Admiral, Sarachun said, your empire is finished. Not because we destroyed it with weapons, but because we destroyed it with truth. Your own people. are learning what you have done in their name. They are learning that the peace you promised was built on the graves of innocent worlds. As if to prove her point, new reports began coming in from across the galaxy. Imperial worlds were declaring independence. Military commanders were refusing orders. Entire fleets were defecting to the rebellion. How? Admiral Keither asked. We planned this for 50 years, Admiral. Every human who infiltrated your empire had a purpose. Every refugee we helped had a reason. Every friendship we made had a goal. We built a network of truth that spans the entire galaxy. Admiral Keither sank into his command chair. He was witnessing the collapse of the greatest empire in galactic history, and it was happening not through conquest, but through the simple power of showing people the truth about their oppressors. What happens now? He asked. Now you choose. Sarah-chan replied. You can return to your empire and watch it tear itself apart as the truth spreads. Or you can help us build something better. What could be better than the empire? Freedom, Admiral. Real freedom. Not the illusion of safety you offered in exchange for submission, but the genuine freedom to choose your own path without fear. Admiral Keither stared at the display showing the thousands of ships from liberated worlds. Each vessel represented a people who had refused to accept defeat, who had waited for their chance to reclaim their freedom. And at the center of it all were the humans, the species he had dismissed as primitive. They had done something no military force had ever accomplished. They had defeated the Empire not through superior firepower, but through superior ideas. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months later, Admiral Keither stood in what had once been the Imperial throne room on Zephyr Prime. The massive golden chamber was empty now, its walls stripped of the banners and symbols that had represented 500 years of Imperial rule. Through the tall windows, he could see human ships in orbit alongside vessels from dozens of liberated worlds. The Empire was dead, not destroyed by weapons or conquered by force, but dissolved by the simple truth that its subjects refused to remain subjects any longer. World after world had declared independence until nothing remained of the great Zephyrian Empire except memories and regrets. Admiral, a familiar voice said behind him. He turned to see Sarah-chan entering the throne room. She wore simple clothes, not the military uniform he had seen her in during the war. Behind her walked representatives from many of the worlds that had once been part of the Empire. Ambassador Chun, he said formally, I was not expecting you. I wanted to speak with you before the trial begins. Admiral Keither nodded. The Galactic Tribunal had been established to judge the crimes of the Empire. Many Imperial officers would face justice for their actions. He would be among them. I suppose you have come to gloat over your victory, he said. Sarah-chan shook her head. No, Admiral. I came to offer you a choice. What kind of choice? The same choice we have offered to every Imperial officer who is willing to listen. You can help us build something better. Admiral Keither looked around the empty throne room. What could I possibly help you build? I am a war criminal. My hands are stained with the blood of innocent worlds. Yes, they are, Sarah-chan said, without trying to soften the truth. But you also have knowledge that could help us prevent future wars. You understand how empires think, how they operate, how they justify their crimes. And you would trust someone like me? Trust must be earned, Admiral. But we believe that people can change if they truly want to. Admiral Keither considered. Her words. In the months since his defeat, he had watched the galaxy transform in ways he had never imagined possible. The human coalition had not established a new empire to replace the old one. Instead, they had created something unprecedented, a voluntary alliance of free worlds. How is it working? He asked. Your coalition of independent worlds. How do you make decisions without a central authority? Very carefully, Sarah Chun replied with a slight smile. It is not easy. Free people disagree with each other constantly. But disagreement is better than oppression. But surely you have problems. Pirates, rogue states, species that refuse to cooperate. Of course we do. Freedom is messy, Admiral. It is complicated and sometimes frustrating. But it is still better than the alternative. Admiral Keither walked to one of the tall windows and looked out at the ships in orbit. I spent my entire life believing that the Empire was necessary, that without it, the galaxy would fall into chaos and war. And now I see that the Empire was the source of most of that chaos and war. Sarah Chun joined him at the window. That is the first step toward understanding, Admiral. Recognizing that what you believed was wrong. But it does not change what I did. The worlds I helped destroy. The lives I took. No, it does not. Nothing can change that. But you can choose what you do with the rest of your life. Admiral Keither was quiet for a long moment. Below them, the capital city of Zephyr Prime bustled with activity. But it was different now. Where once only Zephyrians had walked the streets, now he could see representatives from hundreds of different species living and working together. What exactly are you offering me? He asked. A position with the Reconciliation Commission. We are working to help former imperial worlds transition to independence. Many of them need guidance from people who understand how the Empire operated. You want me to help destroy the last remnants of everything I spent my life building. We want you to help heal the wounds the Empire created. Admiral Keither turned away from the window. And if I refuse, then you will stand trial for your crimes. If convicted, you will spend the rest of your life in prison. That is justice, Admiral. But it is not the only path available to you. Why are you offering me this chance? After everything the Empire did to your people and others? Sarah Chun was quiet for a moment before answering. Because hatred is a poison, Admiral. If we build our new galaxy on hatred for the old one, we will eventually become what we fought against. You truly believe that people like me can change. I believe that anyone can choose to be better than they were. But the choice must be genuine. It must come from understanding, not just from fear of punishment. Admiral Keither looked at the representatives from the liberated worlds who had come with Sarah Chun. Among them, he recognized faces of species the Empire had conquered. Species he had personally helped to subjugate. Yet none of them looked at him with the hatred he expected. What do they think about your offer? He asked, nodding toward the alien representatives. A tall figure stepped forward. It was General Crixtell of Calfax, the same leader who had confronted Admiral Keither during the final battle. Admiral, General Crixtell said, you destroyed my world. You killed my family. For years I dreamed of revenge against you. Admiral Keither felt shame burn in his chest. I am sorry. I know that means nothing, but I am sorry. Your apology does not bring back the dead, General Crixtell replied. But it is a beginning, and we have learned from the humans that sometimes beginning again is more important than ending what came before. You would work with me? After what I did to your people? I would work with anyone who genuinely wants to prevent what happened to Calfax from happening to other worlds. Another representative spoke up, a small blue-skinned creature from Meridia. The humans taught us something important, Admiral. They taught us that the cycle of revenge only creates more suffering. We can choose to break that cycle. Admiral, Keither felt something he had not experienced in years. Hope. Not hope for himself, but hope that the galaxy might truly become a better place. If I accept your offer, he said to Sarah Chun, what would be expected of me? Complete honesty about Imperial operations, full cooperation with the Reconciliation Commission, and a genuine commitment to helping former Imperial worlds heal. And I would be working alongside people whose worlds I helped conquer. Yes, it will not be easy, Admiral. There will be difficult conversations. There will be pain and anger. But there will also be the possibility of redemption. Admiral Keither looked around the empty throne room one more time. The Empire was dead, and nothing could bring it back. But perhaps something better could rise from its ashes. I accept, he said quietly. Sarah Chun nodded. Then let us begin the real work. As they left the throne room together, Admiral Keither thought about the single word that had started it all. Sarah Chun had told him to run, and he had dismissed it as primitive bravado. Now he understood what she had really meant. She had been warning him to run from the path of destruction the Empire was on, to run toward something better before it was too late. He had not listened then, but he was listening now. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the true nature of power. Real strength did not come from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to choose mercy when destruction would be easier. The humans had defeated the greatest empire in galactic history, not through superior weapons, but through superior ideas. And now those ideas were spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Freedom, justice, cooperation, and hope. The old empire of fear and submission was being replaced by something unprecedented, a galaxy where different species chose to work together as equals. The future would not be easy. There would be conflicts, disagreements, and setbacks. But for the first time in galactic history, billions of beings across thousands of worlds had something they had never possessed before: the right to choose their own destiny. Admiral Keither had spent his life serving an empire built on the belief that some species were meant to rule and others to serve. Now he would spend whatever years remained to him helping to build a galaxy based on the revolutionary idea that all thinking beings deserved freedom. It was, he realized, a much better way to live.